My wife let me catch her cheating with the therapist who was supposed to heal her. My wife, Kay, was extremely close with her parents. When they died in a car crash 5 years ago, she collapsed emotionally. She fell into a deep depression and stopped functioning. She didn't get out of bed. I took over everything, every chore, every responsibility. I cared for our newborn alone. The problem is, it's been 5 years. And for 5 years, she has literally not left the bed. I cooked her meals, and when I was at work, she ordered takeout. We haven't been intimate once in all that time. I can't remember the last time she kissed me. She barely even talks to our 6-year-old daughter. I've carried the entire weight of this household. I've worked 60-hour weeks, done every chore, raised our kid by myself. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to speak up for her sake, for mine, and especially for our daughter. I sat next to her on the bed and gently took her hand. I spoke quietly. I know it's been hard. It's been hard for both of us. But we can't stay in this sadness forever. Our daughter misses you. I miss you. I miss your smile, your laugh. Please, for all of us, can you try just a small step forward? She looked at me. One tear ran down her cheek. She squeezed my hand lightly and whispered, "I don't know if I can." That broke something in me. I told her she had to try. She had to. No matter how sad she was, she needed to try. She didn't say anything after that. The air between us was heavy. I told her I couldn't keep doing everything alone, that I was exhausted. She snapped, saying I had no idea how it felt to lose your parents, and then went quiet. I lost it. I said, "You really think I don't know what it's like to lose someone? You were working on your master's degree. I supported you through everything. I paid for your tuition. I paid for this house. I worked 70-hour weeks just to put food on the table while still trying to show up for our kid." I reminded her that during that time, my own brother Andrew died. And I couldn't even go to his funeral because I had to keep working to keep our home afloat. I couldn't grieve. I had to wake up and keep going. I reminded her I was there when she dropped out mid-semester. I still paid the tuition. I paid for her therapy. I gave her a shoulder to cry on. I stayed strong for her, even when I was depressed myself. I didn't want to get out of bed some mornings either. But I had to because Connor needed someone to show up. I wasn't trying to invalidate her grief, but after 5 years of doing this alone, I was drained. She just stared at me. I asked her if she had anything to say. She stayed silent. That silence hit harder than anything else. I felt invisible, like my pain didn't matter at all. I woke Connor, packed a bag, and left the house for the night. I got a hotel. On the drive, Connor asked why Mom wasn't coming. I told him she needed rest. She'd be okay. She kept calling and texting after we left. I replied once I'll be home in the morning. She told me to come home right away. But I needed space. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, tucked Connor into bed, and laid out his clothes for school the next morning. While he slept, I wrote a letter for Kay. I told her I still loved her and wanted the best for her. I repeated what I'd said earlier, that I couldn't keep working 60 hours a week while raising Connor and taking care of everything else alone. I told her the house was falling apart, dishes and clothes piling up, rooms staying messy unless I cleaned them, dust gathering on every surface. I was burning out, and if she couldn't help, not even a little, then I'd have to leave. I told her I'd file for divorce if nothing changed. I left the letter on the kitchen counter before work the next morning. Normally, I'd have made her breakfast or picked something up, but I didn't have the time or energy. I knew she'd see it around 11. Later that day, Kay called me at work, furious. She screamed into the phone, asking how I could abandon her like that after she lost both of her parents. She said now I was trying to make her lose her family too. I told her it wasn't the right time to talk, that we could talk when I got home. When I arrived, she met me at the door. For the first time in years, she wasn't in bed. But it wasn't a relief. She was screaming, throwing things. She said I was selfish. She called me a failure as a husband and a father. Then she told me I'd never be half the man her therapist was, that he actually listened to her and didn't judge her like I did. I sat and listened while she yelled, then wiped my face and left the house again. This time, I didn't go to a hotel. I just drove around trying to clear my head. All I could think about were the last 5 years. The fights, the silence, the crushing loneliness. And Connor, our sweet boy, caught in the middle. Could we afford therapy for both of us? No. Could I keep doing this forever if she never worked again, never helped again? I didn't know. Eventually, I went back home. It was past 3 a.m. when I slipped into the guest room. I don't think she heard me. The next morning, I was up at 6 to get Connor ready for school. I felt like I was running on fumes. I dropped him off, then called out of work. I couldn't push myself any further that day. When I got home, Kay was in the kitchen making breakfast. She jumped when she saw me and asked why I was there. I told her I called out I needed to rest. She gave me a strange look and said we couldn't afford missed work. I explained that I was exhausted. My head was pounding. My body was giving up. She slammed the pan down and snapped. Then go take care of something else. We need toilet paper and groceries. She handed me a long shopping list. I said I'd do it over the weekend, then went upstairs. I should have been glad she was finally making food, something she hadn't done in years, but I was too tired to even process it. I passed out the second I hit the bed. I woke up just in time to pick up Connor. I hadn't realized how badly I needed that sleep. I felt human again. When he climbed into the car, I asked how his day went. He said it was good and asked if we could get ice cream. I couldn't say no. We went to his favorite shop. He got vanilla. I got strawberry. As we sat by the window, I saw a young couple walking down the street with their baby. The mom laughed at something the dad said. Then the dad leaned down to play peekaboo with the baby, who giggled with delight. It hit me hard. I wanted that. I wanted a family like that. Happy, light, present. The years were slipping through our fingers, wasted on sadness, silence, and survival. When we got home, Connor ran into our room. "Hey, Mommy, are you feeling better?" he asked. She said, "I'm okay." He gave her a big hug and wished her well. As he left, she reminded him to close the door behind him. I stood in the doorway and watched her. Connor passed me, and I quietly shut the door. The next day was Saturday, which meant I didn't need to get up early to take Connor to school. Instead, I brought him to my mom's house so I could head to my weekend job at a nice restaurant. The pay wasn't great, just over $2 an hour, but the tips could be decent. When we got there, Connor ran up to his grandma and hugged her. I kissed them both and headed off to work. After I finished serving my first few tables, my manager pulled me aside and told me I could go home early. He said traffic was too slow and there were too many servers on the floor. We weren't making money that day. I couldn't argue with him. We barely made anything hourly, and tips weren't coming in anyway. I cleaned my section and headed home. As I pulled into our driveway, I noticed a car I didn't recognize parked out front. For a moment, I thought maybe my mom had borrowed a friend's car to come by with Connor. Or maybe it was an Uber Eats driver Kay used to order food almost daily. I didn't expect company, but when I stepped inside, I heard something upstairs. Laughing, then a voice, then shouting. Kay. My stomach dropped. I rushed up the stairs calling her name, thinking something was wrong. But when I pushed open our bedroom door, what I saw stopped me in my tracks. She was in bed with her therapist, Tad, the same man she had spent 5 years talking to, the only person she would actually open up to. And now the one she was sleeping with while I was out working 2 jobs to hold our lives together. They both froze. She looked like a deer caught in headlights. Tad scrambled to pull his clothes back on. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there and asked, "How could you do this? After everything I've done to support you, after 5 years of sacrifice." I asked if she had even thought about how this would affect Connor. I asked if I was just not enough for her anymore. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "He was there for me, while you were always working." I felt alone, and he listened to me. I reminded her why I was always working. I was the only one bringing in money, the only one cooking, cleaning, caring for our kid. I asked if she remembered all the late nights I came home and still made sure she had food, how I put everything aside to be strong for her. She said I was always too tired to talk to her, to be intimate, to make her feel like I cared. That when we did talk, it was just to tell her she wasn't doing enough, or that she was a bad mother. I told her that was one conversation. One honest conversation after 5 years of me keeping us afloat by myself. I reminded her I never gave up on her, even when I had every reason to. And this was how she repaid me. I wasn't even angry in that moment. I was disappointed, completely drained. I left without saying anything else and went to my mom's house. I needed to be somewhere calm, somewhere safe. Over the next few weeks, I began preparing for divorce. I didn't know how we'd split the house or custody or even how I'd afford a lawyer. But I knew I couldn't stay. At first, the betrayal stung worse than anything. But slowly, I started to feel something else: relief. I realized I didn't have to carry everything alone anymore. I didn't have to burn myself out trying to support someone who refused to meet me halfway. I started imagining a simpler life, just me and Connor in a smaller home, working a regular 40-hour week, coming home. In time for dinner, having time for bedtime stories. Peace, stability, and for the first time in years, that future didn't feel like a fantasy. It felt possible. Connor and I stayed with my mom while I gathered evidence and began speaking with a lawyer. Explaining everything to him was hard, harder than anything else. When I told him that Mommy and Daddy weren't going to be together anymore, he broke down. He cried for days, begging us to stay together. But I knew this was the one time I had to hold firm. I had to protect our son, not just from a broken marriage, but from growing up in a home full of silence, resentment, and emotional instability. I couldn't let him think this was normal. Kay didn't apologize. She never admitted she was wrong. She just kept blaming me for working too much, for being distant, for not loving her the way she wanted to be loved. But I did love her. I loved her through everything. I stood by her side when anyone else would have walked away. I carried her grief and mine, and somehow still managed to keep the roof over our heads and our child fed and happy. Eventually, I stopped looking back. I chose to move forward. I started job hunting for better hours. I made plans to downsize and find a place of our own. I took Connor to the park more. We talked more, laughed more. I started to feel present again. Kay, I don't know what happened between her and Tad. I don't care. That chapter is over. Do I feel guilty for leaving? No. I feel free. Thank you for listening to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, leave a comment below to share your thoughts on what happened. Take care.